Musikproduktiv und Multitouch TV präsentieren den Webcast von der Musikmesse 2012. Hallo und herzlich willkommen zum Messecast 2012 von der Frankfurter Musikmesse, präsentiert von Multitouch TV und Musikproduktiv. Und jetzt bin ich neben der Messe im Maritim Hotel und habe Gelegenheit, mir das QuNeo vorstellen zu lassen. Und bei mir ist der Jazzman.
Hi, Jazzman. Hi. Hey, how you doing? This is Jasmine from Keith McMillan Instruments.
Cool. And that's Andrew, right?
Yes, Andrew from Keith McMillan.
Okay. We actually did present the pad in one of our shows, you know, sort of make the kind of preview, talked about it. And we were thinking, oh, who really needs a pad when we all got iPads, right?
That's a good question.
Good question, right? But now I can already answer it, because the major difference, and we were talking, really discussing it, because we were thinking, no, I said, no, look, it's actually a real pad. It's not just a screen or anything. You can, because we have a big problem with the iPad for music, which is, at first glance, it seems to be great. You know, you can control everything with your fingers. But when you're in a club or in the studio or anything, you don't know where you're touching. So for me, I'm doing the demo for you guys, you know. Hey,
I was going to jump in here. I was going to say, that's what we were happy about, is that we really want to have something that has some kind of physical feedback.
Absolutely.
And that, for example, that's why we have our MPC type pads, you know, come out of the.
Yeah, and they feel a little bit like MPC pads, you know. They're sort of. Oh, sorry. What did I do?
So you started.
Great.
The whole loop and the whole demo.
Cool.
So we can go from here actually. So here, what we do here is we have the QuNeo is set up with an Ableton Live project, and we're launching several clips. So here, you know, what you did is you launched the drum loop, and we have the drum loop here on the slider. Is we're using the slider as a mixer. So that's what we have here, and then we can bring in the other elements of the mix on the other sliders.
I mean, sure. I mean, we can always talk about what the software does, but we've seen it on other products, right?
Sure.
For me, it's really interesting. You know, how the feel is and how the control is. So this is a regular pad.
Yeah.
And how does the slider work?
So nothing is a regular pad or a regular slider.
Okay.
Everything is pressure sensitive on the QuNeo. So I can show you, if you want to look at the screen, I can show you that we have an example of how everything is pressure sensitive. So you can see that all the pads are X, Y, and pressure sensitive. And you can do that, of course, you know, simultaneously on all the pads. And that every slider as well, if you look here, is also pressure sensitive. And that's on every slider, and even the triangular buttons are pressure sensitive.
So I can use this?
Yeah, you can use it.
Like this? Or
Yeah, like, well, everything is very expressive. So here, what we have set up, what I can show you with pressure, is we have, here, if I run everything at the same time, I can use this pad here. We're using the pressure to control, you know, the frequency of a low-pass filter, but the XY is actually controlling the resonance amount. So we have multi-dimensional expressive control on each pad. So for the demo, we're just using that as an example. You can hear it, but of course you assign it to whatever you want in software or hardware, and that you have something that's much deeper than a regular, you know, note on or sort of a trigger or anything like that. It's not just a simple mechanical action; it's something deeper.
And it's also more than just the MPC pad. It's pressure sensitive, but doesn't have the XY.
Exactly, yeah. And also you should think that pressure sensitivity is a bit different than velocity, because when you have a note on message, then you have velocity, but pressure is more like aftertouch. That anytime you're sending continuous data out, and you can do that on all the pads and all the sliders simultaneously.
Understood. Yes. And this one is also one of those sliders. So I have basic elements, and this is just what is this?
These will be paging and banking buttons, so that you know you don't just have one slider here. Maybe you have 4 or 8, and you can page and bank through them.
Will be means it's not happening.
Well, this is a prototype, and this is the demo. So this is I can't show you this function right now, but that's what those buttons are for. But what I can show you on this slider is that we also have multi-touch interaction on the sliders. So here, for example, I can show you that you can set a range on this slider, so that you know you have one point of contact. You know, we can go scroll through the slider, but we can also use it to set a range. So that's sort of something that's novel, and that's what you don't find on similar type of hardware.
So can you just hold the microphone for a second, because I want to try if I can do it.
Of course, yeah.
If it's just for the demo guy, you know. Okay, that's a little. So what? That would be the next question, right?
So this being the prototype board, this is the prototype board. So we'll have little rubber feet here, so that it doesn't slip off the table.
Okay. Because it's pretty light, you know.
Yeah.
It's really sort of.
Yeah. We wanted it to be very light and very portable, and it's the same size as an iPad too, so that if you have any accessories for the iPad, you slip it right in, or if you have a stand or something.
And the only connection to the computer is USB.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and that if you want to control hardware like all of other products, you can use the MIDI expander that Andrew is going to bring up, and so that if you want to control the MIDI hardware, you have MIDI pins here. 5-pin MIDI connector here.
I've seen that before. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Okay. Last question would be the colors.
Yes.
I mean, they respond to.
So here, for example, like in the example we have, we're getting the volume from the tracks to do like a VU meter here. But also that when you press here, for example, this pad, depending on how hard I press, we're going from green to red. So that the colors, the LEDs in the pads, for example, or you can do 2 colors, and we can use them to get information from our software.
I see here are 3 colors.
Yes, and here these are used so that you as you run the course of the slider here, you go from green to red, so that you always know where you are in your motion. And we have another blue LED here in the center, because since we're using this slider as a crossfader, we're thinking about it perhaps like a crossfader. You want to know if you're in the middle, so that we have a blue LED in the center here.
Makes sense. Why is there a round one?
Aha. So we have rotary encoders, rotary pads as well that you can run. Let me deactivate this, mute these other guys. You can scrub through a sample here. So we're thinking about DJ type applications for things like that, and we have 2 of them, and looks like we lost this guy maybe, but
Prototype.
Yeah, it's a prototype. So here, just to show you that it's very high resolution. So we're thinking about DJ type applications.
Let me try it.
Yeah, of course. There's a trigger and it's also a continuous control.
I think it takes a little bit of practice, and you really need to solve this problem with it sliding around. But you will probably do that.
We had at NAMM we had a little rubber pad. We did a mock-up and it was fine. So
maybe
blame the table.
Maybe it's also a chance. Give me.
Yeah.
No, hold it.
I'm holding the mic. Okay.
Okay, it's something that can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here, if you bring up the drums, you can sort of.
Yeah.
Give yourself a little.
Oh, that's cool.
Re-trigger.
Yeah, it feels nice in there. Cool. Okay, I buy one.
Okay, cool.
How much is it?
It's going to be $199 street price in dollars, so $199, but 229 euros. There we go.
Okay. What is that? What? Very strange exchange rate.
That's between. I'm not part of the.
Okay.
Ask a distributor.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Oh yeah, I should show you the last.
Oh yeah, and I forgot one question.
Okay, well, so let me show you the grid mode, the other exciting feature we have. Using the mode button here, we can access the grid mode. So I'm going to press the mode button, and then we can use the QuNeo as a step sequencer, so that we're using all the different corners of all the pads to do a little 8-step sequencer. So that we're thinking, if you're using like your monome or you like to do your sequencing with your hardware, we can also address that with the QuNeo. And so I can add a clap and
like a launch pad.
Well, no, not actually. I was thinking more like a monome, like a launch pad. We can do because you can, with the pads, you just decide to name your you just use the pads to launch your clips, But I think this is more sequencing is a bit more in depth. It's more like the monome, I think, perhaps.
The Tenori.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Tenorion. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And the control, I mean, you're using it with Ableton Live, and I assume you can use any kind of MIDI control software.
So we're going to have it shipping with templates for Ableton and Reason and Tractor, and because we're thinking about those users primarily, but you have to think about it like any kind of MIDI controller. You plug in and it shows up, and then you assign it to your favorite software or your hardware if you're so inclined.
And the feedback, the visual feedback, except for the slider, is that unique to using it with Ableton, or does it work? Because usually I don't have a feedback pass through MIDI.
No, yeah, but this gets MIDI in and out of it, so you can send back to get. We want to take full advantage of the LEDs and the visual aspect of the product, so that we can get a lot of feedback. Because that's very important if you're playing to know where you are if you do complicated setups. So.
Okay. When did you say what it was shipping?
About 3 to 4 weeks. 3 to 4 weeks we'll have it out.
Okay, great. I would love to have one in Berlin and give it a test ride, you know? Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
Cool. Nice to meet you. Take care.